Hello and welcome to another episode of Spoken Voices. And as you can see, I'm back in the studio. So you guys won't get a chance to hear Max run around like a crazy dog in my house anymore. But the sad thing is I'm here by myself. I can't have a guest right now because of the virus, which is fine. So I'm going to try to entertain you myself, and hopefully what we talk about today will keep you in front of your TV. And this is what we're going to speak about today, something that had been on my mind for a little while since the coronavirus started. Social media. And I guess because people are at home, not too much to do, people are on social media a lot, including myself. I must admit, I'm on it too. I'm reading. I'm basically a really news guy. I like keeping up with current events and news and stuff like that. But if you look at certain platforms that I've been looking at since, we've been kind of hunkered down in the house, Twitter, it's something that I've been noticing a lot of weird stuff going on. Not so much weird, but just little madness to me. I think we've gotten to the point now, if you guys are on social media, where we're getting a lot of stuff coming through Twitter and Facebook and Instagram of unfiltered, in most cases, unfiltered hate. Unfiltered misogyny, unfiltered anti-gay, whatever. But I've found out, what I've been doing is looking into it, and I've kind of found out that because of the anonymity of someone having a Twitter account, where basically your profile picture can be a picture of a dog or a cartoon character, or whatever you choose to be. It doesn't have to be your face. It could be anything that you want it to be, which gives you complete autonomy to go in and say anything that you want to say. The things that I've been reading on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, it's almost insanity to me to see some of the things that people are putting on there. The racism that's been put on, and the ability to call people anything that you want to without any ramifications for the most part. Now, there are certain rules and regulations that are associated with each of these platforms, but if we think about it, the amount of people who are on it, how easy or how hard is it for someone to basically regulate what's being written on these things? So it has to be almost an impossible task for those who do the censorship of these platforms. But if you read them and you see the replies to them, it almost gets to the point where the vitriol is so high, you're kind of grateful that you can't find this person, because you probably would do that person bodily harm. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is that I find that it's a lot of discord in the country today itself. And I think that these platforms basically exacerbates this whole discord that we have in the United States today. I give you a perfect example. I live in Southbury, and the other day, as I was outside, sitting outside, I heard someone screaming the N-word. Now, at first, I had no idea where it was coming from. And to this day, I still don't know where exactly it was coming from, but it was continuously. And me personally, since I've been here, I've never experienced anything like that. So it took me a little off guard that somebody would basically sit there and scream this. I'm assuming that this person was screaming at the TV or whatever, unless they're just a crazy person. But anyway, I'm sitting there and I get up and I go look for where this voice is coming from, and I have no clue. And I call someone to get them to, some people who own the place, and I tell them what I've heard. So it becomes this big to-do. The owner of the complex comes, the president of that area comes, the police actually came. Now at this point I'm saying, well, it's not that serious, but now I'm into it. So I'm talking to them and I'm trying to get them to see that, you know, it's okay, it's maybe something, but at this point it was out of my control. So the police wanted to know where they were, and apparently they found out who it was, knocked on the door, told them that type of thing is not accepted, and if they had to be called back, there were going to be a problem. So I say all that to say this, right? I don't know when it happened. I don't know what started it, but we're beginning to fall backwards in our thinking, in how we treat other people. I'm sorry, I was supposed to turn my phone off, but I didn't. That's what happens when you haven't been in the studio for a while. You forget to do certain things. We're basically going backwards in how we are treating one another, how we are looking at each other, and how we have no more. It seems like we're losing understanding for individuals because of how they look, who they are, where they came from. I had a conversation today with somebody, and we were talking, and the funny thing is, I told him that I have type 1 diabetes, and my type 1 diabetes is no different than if he had it, and this is a white gentleman, or anyone else. We've seemed to we've seemed to like taken ourselves and put ourselves into different categories. Reading on Twitter again, because I'm gonna keep going back to that. Reading on Twitter again, this guy was talking about a mixed race couple. My thing with that, whenever I hear a mixed raced couple or mixed race child or mixed race anything, my problem with that is there's only one race. That's the human race. There's no subsection of humanity. Homo sapien is who we are. And nationality is where we come from. If I'm Italian, I come from Italy or have ancestors that come from Italy, or if I'm African or whatever, ancestors from Africa. We are not split up into race. At least we shouldn't be. I don't know when it started, but what I do know is that it's a misconception of who we are as human beings. We tend to do this to make one group of people superior to the next. And on these Instagram things and Twitter, it's actually boiling over into the Discord and what we're talking about every day when you pick it up. There was one guy who said that mixed race people have a problem fitting in. And my response to that was, well, they're just human beings who have different parents from different areas of the world, and their ancestry are a little bit different, but they're still human beings. And the person could not grasp that. You know, it's a situation where people actually believe that if you're of another nationality, you're actually of a different race. And I said the only way you get a mixed race couple is if one of the couples is from another planet or from another species, which is insane because we're of the same species. You know, and it's becoming a problem, at least for those who are thinkers, people who think, people who can dissect their way through life, is that it's insanity to me. And I understand that ignorance is bliss, because if you don't care, if you choose not to be educated, if you choose not to understand what life really is, then your life is bliss. You have not a care in the world. You can skip down the street and not care about anything because you're ignorant. And I don't have a problem with that as long as it's not brought to me, or, you know, and not brought to the public discourse again, where you're sitting down and trying to have a conversation and someone is totally oblivious of when they're insulting or when they're not understanding that we all have a common bond. And that common bond is the fact that we're all human and that we're all going through the same thing. Even with this virus, you know, we keep hearing that it affects people of color more than it does anyone else, which I think it's understandable that would be important for people to know if, you know, if you're a person of color and you are worried about getting this virus. But again, that gives people who are ignorant another opportunity to separate people. And it's bad enough that we're sitting at home. We are, for the most part, I can guarantee you that we're all worried about each other, you know, our families. And we're hoping that nobody that we know and love, and even those who we don't, contract this thing. Just listening to the news every day, and you're hearing how many people have passed away, how many cases are now being reported. It's almost terrifying to a certain point, where for myself, I have to turn and look at something else, you know. And it's gotten to the point, even if I want to watch basketball or baseball or whatever, it comes up in the broadcast for that too, because now they're wondering about how these athletes can basically stay safe during this pandemic. And again, if you look at it from this point of view, this country, the world, every human being on this earth now is worried about a virus. This virus has no inkling to go after one group of people. Everybody is basically scared because this virus doesn't care who you are. It will attack you. It will do damaging things to those who have underlying conditions like myself, and either make you real sick or kill you. And that's the bottom line. And even that, if we can look at that, it should be something that galvanizes us as human beings from any place on this planet, and realize if you have any idea or any thought in your head that any of us are different than than yourself or your family or anybody in your group of people, then you would have to look at this virus as someone saying, no, you're not. You know, I'm an equal opportunity virus. I will destroy anybody I can come in contact with, which should, again, galvanize us as a world, not only as a country, but as a world. But if you look at some of the newscasts that I've been seeing, that we're calling it people are calling it a Chinese virus or whatever. And my thought of it is, what does it matter where it started? Let's just try to end it. Because it's here now, there's nothing we can really do about it but try to find a vaccine for it. But if you look at the political discourse, it's a Republican thing. It's a Democrat thing. You know, it's their fault, it's his fault, it's that guy's fault. But it's not. Because once you start having that conversation, nothing gets done. Once you blame somebody for something that no one has control over, right? It's time to look in the mirror and ask yourself, is there something truly wrong with me? As opposed to finding a solution, I want to find a culprit. I want to find a reason to blame somebody for the world's misfortune at this point. And again, go on Twitter. Go on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. That's what's happening. People are actually blaming other people for it happening. Same as this. How about this? Wear a mask. How simplistic is it to tell someone to wear a mask during this pandemic? Think about that a minute. You have someone telling you, a doctor, right, who says if you wear this, it's not for you, it's to protect the person that you're near. Now, if I think that that's true, I'm going to put on my mask to protect you. If you put on your mask to protect me, I think we're all smart enough to realize the number of cases being reported is going to go down. As they say, it'll flatten the curve. The amount of people being infected will go down. There is so much backlash with wearing a mask, social distancing. Look at your news stations. You'll see people all over here in Connecticut as well. Young kids at parties. Not only are they not 6 feet apart, most of the time they're not 6 inches apart, nor are they wearing masks. Now, these young kids believe that if I get it, I'm not going to get that sick. What's the point? It's like having the flu. Flu's 2 days at the most. But they're not realizing, oh my goodness, I got to go over grandma's house to deliver her grocery or to see how she's doing. They've forgotten about the night before. They've been with 30 other people in a packed club, and they go to their grandmother's house. And you know, as we get older, our immune system is not as good as it was when we were young. And they go there, they sit there, they kiss grandma, and they leave, and then grandma gets sick. And then the child is wondering, right, how do I ever live with the fact that I had something to do with the demise of my grandparent, or parent for that matter? It's not difficult. It's an easy thing. It's an easy fix. Don't go out into crowded places. Keep your mask on. How many videos have we seen where people are yelling and screaming at the top of their voice, saying, I refuse to put on a mask. How dare you? I have rights. Which is true. Which is true. Hang on one second. I have to drink some water because my throat is getting dry. But it's true. We don't have to put on the mask, but isn't it a good thing to do? Isn't it a good thing to do for the other person? Just out of humanity. Isn't it a great thing to do to say, I'm willing to protect you if you're willing to protect me? I've actually seen videos where people are basically ready to fight one another because someone says, put on a mask. Now, again, I'm not going to confront you for not having on a mask because I think that's stupid too, to have a confrontation because someone doesn't want to do something that you think is right. But I will avoid you. I will not have a conversation with you until you put on a mask. And that's even my kids sometimes. If they have been out, I will question them, right? And until you give me a good answer, keep your mask on. I don't want to talk to you because I don't want to get sick. And it's not hard, though. But I think we're coming to a place where we just don't want to listen to anybody. We feel like our rights are being infringed upon for the simplest thing, for something that if you don't know it's right, if you don't see how this helps, then there's something wrong with you. It's not hard. This whole pandemic thing is scary. It's very scary. The unknown is always scary. But the thing is, once you take a step back from it, once you get your head around it, and someone is telling you something that is basically good for you, then you should be able to adjust to what we're going through right now. And as we all know in life, nothing is forever. I truly believe that this virus may be around forever, but there are probably going to be vaccines and things that we can do where we don't get sick, where we don't have a high mortality rate with this with this virus. But it's on us, though. It's incumbent upon us to do what we need to do to make the curve flatten. It's also incumbent upon us to be civil on every platform, even it's day-to-day, face-to-face, on any kind of social media. If we think about this for a minute, as we get overly, rambunctious about what we're saying to somebody, how we're treating somebody else, ask yourself a question. How would you like for someone to say that to a loved one? How would you like for someone to sit on social media and constantly insult your child, your mother, your son, your daughter, your husband, whatever? And maybe if we start thinking on those lines, I know it's an old adage, do unto others as you would do to yourself, but somewhere along the line, I think we've lost that. I don't know when it happened. I don't know why it happened, but it seems like we don't care about our fellow man anymore. It feels as though we have basically just started thinking about ourselves and not looking at one another, as short a period of time as 9/11 was. I remember when 9/11 happened, this country was galvanized. This country was one. And it didn't matter where you came from, your background, your nationality, or nothing. We were just one because we thought that, we knew that we were attacked and so many people passed away. Look at the numbers of the people that passed away from this virus itself. I don't know if it's tripled or quadrupled the number of people that died in 9/11. Each tragedy is a tragedy in its own right. But that feeling of one, that feeling of one nation, that feeling of one world is not happening with this virus. And we're losing people every day. And I think it's basically opened up the doors for a lot of craziness and a lot of crazy people. And we have to start looking at ourselves and making ourselves better, in my opinion. And again, something as simple as distancing yourself, wearing a mask, being a good person, being a good citizen, and saying, I won't give it to you, and if you wear a mask, you won't give it to me, or I have a very low risk of getting it we have a very low risk of getting it from each other. It's something that is the most simplistic thing in the world. You don't have to be a family member for me, myself, to care about. I care about you because you are a living, breathing human being. And I wish more people felt that way. I don't have any animosity against anyone just because you're different than me. I don't care, because at the end of the day, you're not that much different than me. You're a human being. You look different, which is great, because if we all look the same, what a boring place that would be. And so I wanted to do this show, and I wanted to get that off my chest. And I wanted us to just start thinking as people, as human beings. Stop if we can, you take a moment before you hit send when you're on social media. Think, who am I hurting by doing this? Who may find what I say to be so offensive that it may change the way they view the world? How would I want my children to behave? And how will I want my children to perceive me? And how would they perceive me if they saw the stupidness I just wrote to someone? How would my kids perceive me if I tell someone I am not wearing a mask because I have rights as a United States citizen, which has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that I don't want to wear a mask because I just want to be an idiot. I just want to be silly. I just want to buck the system. You know, I want to be different. Well, your being different can mean a difference between somebody living or dying. Not only someone, but a group of people. I hope that the next time I see you, people, or you see me, that all this will be done, and I have my fingers crossed, and I hope it's back in the studio. I hope I can have a guest. I hope we can have a discussion other than about this silly virus. I would love for this thing to just be over. But until it is, I want to wish everyone out there the best. I want you to take care of yourselves. I want you to do what you need to do to protect yourselves and everybody else. And I hope to see you again here on Spoken Voices. Please be well and take care. Good night.